As of late, I have been struggling to get my gaming in, and honestly, as a content creator, I feel like I talk more about gaming than actually gaming. For myself, between figuring out how to balance a growing family, the 9-to-5 obligations, friends, and somehow finding time for myself in the mix of all of that, it's getting harder and harder to do what I love most, which is gaming. That said, while I typically only have like 20 to 40 minutes to game at the end of a day, instead of complaining that I can't destroy kids in Overwatch as I once did on my gaming PC, I figured I'd just lean back into my gaming consoles as I previously had, that being the Xbox Series X and PlayStation 5. With that, I figured it would be time to finally update this desk setup here in my bedroom for more so leaning towards those game consoles as well as being a little bit more minimal. Often it's easy to dress things up whenever I throw up a video onto YouTube being all clean and crisp, but like many of you, I'm certain your house might be a little bit more chaotic than it seems, whether it be toys thrown all about, dishes in the sink, or that dreadful chair of laundry. So with all that chaos that can be my house, a clean minimal desk setup can be everything I need to get a moment's rest. Now, I'm a bit of a wannabe minimalist, hence the channel name, but shout out to my dude Nicholas, who sort of gave me the inspiration for this desk setup in one of his recent videos. Be sure to check out his channel, but Nick, if you're watching this, we still gotta run those Fortnite duos. But as to why this desk setup in particular is a little bit more special to me is that I'm spending less and less time with my mouse and keyboard on my competitive gaming PC and more time with a controller. So I figured we'd make this a console-centric setup with a side of iPad. Now, speaking about this beautiful iPad M4 Pro, this was my last video. I did an entire review on it. I actually edited that entire video with this iPad while my son was strapped to my chest. So I figured with a desk setup like this, I should technically be able to game with my son strapped to my chest. And yeah, sure, I could probably do that on my living room TV, but frankly, more often than not, the TV's either hogged by my missus watching Bridgerton or my toddler watching Bluey. With that though, in this setup, I will have my PlayStation 5, an Xbox Series X, a 4K LG OLED monitor, the M4 iPad Pro, and of course this new desk. With all of this mixed up into this desk setup, is that really so minimal? I don't know, whatever, it's a place to start. Either way, that decrepit old tiny desk will be no more as it's time for a dope upgrade, and I do want to give thanks to FlexiSpot for shooting me over their new E7 Pro desk for this desk setup. Now this didn't really take me too long to throw together either, maybe 20 or 30 minutes. I did sort of cheat and use a drill, but you mostly just need a screwdriver. Now originally for this desk setup I was going to go black on black on black, but my wife scolded me and reminded me all the wood and the walls in her room are super light, so naturally we had a conversation, we compromised and ended up going with a light wood. But either way, if you are an elder millennial like myself, chances are you could throw out your back with a hard enough sneeze, do yourself a favor and just get a sit-stand desk. Standing at least once an hour does more good than bad, so thank me later. For this desk, of course, I can pre-program multiple height settings for sitting and standing with this control panel, or do micro adjustments for anywhere in between. This is also sort of my end table for my bed, so shout out to the USB port here for charging my phone at the end of the day. And while I am a bit of a wannabe minimalist, I don't have too much on top this desk itself, but it can hold up to 375 pounds. Even when fully extended though, it is super sturdy, so one less thing to worry about. As with any desk setup though, please do yourself a favor and do some cable management. This setup does have an included magnetic cable cover for the desk cables themselves, but it also does come with a cable management tray. Just use the cut to length Velcro tape and go to town on all those cables. If all else fails, be sure to opt in to purchase the drawer where you can hide all your junk like every true minimalist secretly does. I will have everything in my setup as well as the E7 Pro desk linked down below in the video description, and thanks again to FlexiSpot for sponsoring today's video. Now coming down to the monitor I've chosen, I'm almost certain somebody's going to be roasting for me for going a little bit overkill, but I did end up going with LG's 4K 240Hz OLED display, and I can hear it already. Dude, oh my god, 240Hz, that's overkill for a con. I know that. I didn't just pick this for the refresh rate, I picked it for all its other features. For me, at least, it's just a great all-in-one package that keeps everything super minimal for this setup. It's definitely not perfect, but the built-in speakers on here are some of the best in any monitor, so it pairs perfectly well with my gaming consoles. That, and it's still 4K with an OLED panel giving me those perfect blacks and top-notch colors. I'm not a nitpicker either way, but this just simply looks badass. And since this monitor does have those two HDMI 2.1 ports, I'm still going to be getting all of my VRR and ALLM on both the Series X and PlayStation 5 at up to 4K 120Hz. Now, frankly, since my goal is just to get some gaming in regardless, I don't care if this is true 4K, upscaled, downscaled, whatever scaled, everything on here, the PlayStation 5 or Series X, simply looks incredible, and that's all that really matters. That said, talking about gaming, I don't quite understand the whole console wars between PlayStation 5 or Xbox Series X, considering they're both incredible. Straight up, gaming is gaming. That said, the PlayStation 5 has more so been my go-to mainly since I just really dig the DualSense controller, plus all the Sony exclusives like God of War, Spider-Man, and Ghost Ghost of Tsushima. Shout out to those on PC who recently got Ghost of Tsushima, I'm sure you're enjoying it. Still, the haptics, vibration, built-in speaker, and microphone on the DualSense are an experience in and out of its own, so I really do dig my PlayStation 5. And this is where most of my backlog is as well, which I've got to finish Ghost of Tsushima, Cyberpunk, and I've barely even started Elden Ring. As for the controllers for both my Xbox and PlayStation 5, I've got them sitting on this controller stand from Geek Made Designs. It is hell expensive, I know that, but this is sort of one of those things that you just buy once, set and forget, and it'll last you a long time. I will also say between the two consoles, I do lean more towards my PlayStation 5 when it does come down to media consumption, since I simply prefer the UI. For me, it just handles and looks better. App-wise though, Netflix and YouTube are my jam for whenever I am in my designated dad chair, or if I'm just chilling trying to watch something whenever I can. Okay, I'm gonna be real here. I'm 32, which practically makes me a senior citizen in the world of online gaming. With that, when it does come around the times where I am hopping online with some friends, I typically lean towards my Xbox Series X, simply because I prefer the Discord integration. And I'm sure some of you can relate, some of those gaming sessions are becoming fewer and farther in between. So if you are lucky enough to be gaming with some of your friends every day, be sure to cherish those moments, because they're not going to be there forever. And really, if you do want a tired dad who sucks at video games, be sure to add me. I will leave some of my links somewhere to my profiles here. Add me up, you might just catch me online. Still, apart from that, the Series X, like the PlayStation 5, does give me everything I need for a quality gaming experience. The high refresh rates, the beautiful resolution, and the good time any of us deserves at the end of a long day. For myself, unlike PC, I am going to be getting clapped by 12-year-olds in Overwatch on console, but it's still a good time. Plus, I really do dig games you can pick up and pause like Forza whenever I am a little bit more needed. But what really does it for me with the Xbox Series X is Game Pass. To me, Game Pass is always going to be the best value in gaming unless they jack up the price ridiculously, but having a blockbuster for games is simply ridiculous. Again, since I'm not really spending time on my gaming PC, Game Pass does give me Diablo 4, which is what I was looking forward to for Season 4, and I can't really bring myself to buy it a second time on console. Is spending $20 a month for Game Pass better than just buying the game? I don't know, probably not, maybe, but for now, it does the job. Now, apart from gaming, in my last video, I practically wrote a love letter to the new M4 iPad Pro, since I did have a fat upgrade coming from the iPad Air 4. And I know I won't shut up about being a parent, but honestly, that's my life in reality now, hence this entire desk setup. With this iPad though, all of last week I was able to continue my creative workflow, so naturally this makes its way into my setup without a doubt. And despite being a tablet, this is quite actually the most powerful computing machine I own, and it fits in this super tiny drawer whenever I'm not using. For me, it sort of fits so many different relatable puzzle pieces, so it definitely deserves a spot in this desk setup. I almost rely on it every day. I will say I did have to hide a tiny dock with all my cable management for that single cable Thunderbolt dock connection, since this LG monitor doesn't have Type-C connectivity. But this tiny sheet of metal and glass pretty much gives me an entire computing experience with a simplified workflow. It too has a high refresh OLED display like my LG monitor, and actually pairs super well as a secondary display for media and content whenever I am gaming. So yeah, 10 out of 10 iPad. I know it's not for everybody, but for me, it's beyond perfect. Now, I do want to talk about some of the accessories to round out the rest of my desk setup, starting with one of my favorites that I usually always have something of, which is from GroveMade. I typically lean into the wool desk mat since they really just help break up the look and feel of the desk setup. For my controllers, again, these are just on that stand from Geek Made Designs. It's simply better than having them flop around my desk or whatever. When it comes down to audio though, as great as the speakers are on the monitor itself, I typically lean into using my Sony XM5s whenever I'm gaming on my Xbox Series X, and whenever I'm on my PlayStation 5, I always use my Pulse Explore buds. It's one of those products that I did have low expectations for going in, but they really do sound great. Connectivity was a little bit dodgy at one point, but they did fix that with some updates. Now, the star of this desk setup I really gotta mention is probably just the monitor arm. Coming in at only like 30 or 40 bucks, it really does help the entire desk setup with cable management, the aesthetic, and pure functionality. For myself, it does give me a little bit of desk space back, which I always appreciate. Plus, whenever I am being a mattress for my kid, it's always handy being able to swivel my monitor around to my dad chair, which is always a huge plus. I know it's wacky, I know it's niche, but a monitor arm goes a long way. The last thing I want to mention here are my pretentious ass books I've got. Every morning I wake up and I tell myself I'm gonna read, but what really happens when I get into bed is I scroll Reddit for like 5 minutes and knock the hell out, but they do make me look smarter than I really am. Either way, that's the desk setup for me. I have no clue if it's gonna be permanent or not, but for now, this is where I will be able to decompress whenever I can. Honestly, I think this is just my way of trying to control what little I can, I guess, just trying to grasp a little bit more time to game in my house of chaos. For some people, that's art, music, gaming, whatever that might be, just try and make a little dope setup setup for yourself cause it goes a long way. And sure, there's a lot to be missed about my super mega ultimate PC gaming desk setup down in my basement, but for now this one here in my bedroom will do the job. If you do want a spine-saving desk, be sure to check out FlexiSpot's E7 Pro desk link down below in the description alongside everything else in my setup. And I really wasn't kidding. If you do want to hit me up on Xbox or PlayStation, you might catch me online. I appreciate you watching till the end. Till next time.